everyone. Welcome back to Grow Smarter, brought to you by Toby Marketing Media. As a founder, you know the pressure of making every marketing dollar count. My mission at Toby Agency is to help healthcare and wellness entrepreneurs have more confidence, waste less, and grow smarter in their marketing and media investments. In our last episode with Ildi Arlette, we tackled the Q4 rush, learning how to create profitable offers without relying on deep discounts. But what happens after the holiday season? How do clinics build sustainable, year-round revenue without constantly chasing the next big marketing campaign? The truth is, many clinics are sitting on an untapped potential. I talk about this all the time in my discovery calls with our clients. They focus heavily on getting new patients in the door, spending time and money on ads, while neglecting the fastest path to more revenue, optimizing the behaviors inside your clinic. Are your consultations converting? Is your team following up effectively? Do you even know your numbers? Today, we're diving into the critical internal behaviors that drive profit. Our guest, Ildi, is back to share the simple, actionable steps clinics often get wrong and the 3 core revenue behaviors you can implement now to unlock hidden growth using the traffic you already have. So welcome back to the show, Ildi. How you doing?
Excellent. So happy to be here again.
Yeah, we just finished editing the last episode that we did with you, and there were so many nuggets that were just relevant. Especially, I think I shared some of the content with our team, and they actually said that your comments about the introvert entrepreneur who needs to throw an event and wants to crawl in their shell every single time they hear that they need to throw an event was a really important thing to note, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, whether you believe it or not, are introverts, right? And I think that was a really actionable, relevant piece of advice to a lot of folks, that are trying to figure things out for this last quarter. So thank you for all the insight there. I think that was really valuable. So today, and I'm going to kind of set the stage a little bit here. Ildi, I talk, as a marketing agency owner that works in, the same space that you work in. I talk to a lot of prospective clients, every day. And when I talk to these clients, and usually some of them are at various stages of their life cycle and their practice, right? And so when I talk to some of these folks, they're wanting to spend money on Google ads, they're wanting to spend money on Facebook ads. But I ask them, like, hey, do you have a CRM in place? And actually, the reason I ask them if they have a CRM or a customer relationship management system in place is because in order for me to track the effectiveness of my ads, I need to be able to have some kind of tool to measure the performance of it. And that's what a CRM can do, right? But I also ask them, because I asked them, are you emailing your existing patients? And they usually say no. And I asked them, how many contacts or patients have actually given you money more than once in your database? And some of them will say like 3,000, 4,000. And I'm just like, my jaw just hits the ground, right? I'm like, wait a second. And you've never emailed them even just to tell them about a special or even something educational. And they're like, no. I'm like, okay, we need to fix that. Let's fix that first. Let's generate some revenue from there. Right? And then let's use that revenue to run ads, because ads are not always ROI positive from day one. In fact, most of the time, they're not going to generate a positive ROI from day one. So you need some cash flow, some earnings. You need something that's there to invest back into those ads. And if you haven't figured out a way to really shake revenue loose from your existing tree, like, you're probably making a mistake there. So I just wanted to kind of lay that sort of foundation here for our discussion today. But you argue a lot that clinics chase that next big thing, right? When it comes to finding revenue. But what's the biggest mistake that you personally see clinics making when they prioritize chasing net new clients or acquiring new clients, instead of either one, converting the ones that are already walking in, or converting the ones that might have engaged with them and haven't actually given them money yet?
Yeah, your answer is in your question, which is mistake. The mistake is we are literally every single client I've ever worked with who's owned a clinic says that their main priority is to get more patients. And I love that goal. I understand it. I've now come to call it an incomplete sentence. It should say, I want more new client patients, or I want more patients, but the existing patients are where the money is at. I am so confident about this, and I have said it for 24 years, as long as I've been helping clinics, that the money that you will make, every single person listening to this podcast, 80% or more of their revenue will go into their cash register and into their bank from clients and people they already know. We call those your existing patients.
Yep.
And there are some clinics that are brand new or really new. So I really new is still 1, 2, or 3 years. And some of the points that you talked about, they haven't leveraged or used what they have yet. And that's okay. They have time to learn. But those newer clinics, it may not be an 80-20 split. 80% of your revenue will come from existing patients. 20% will come from new ones. It may be 70-30, but I am here to bet everything I have and own, or anybody ever, to
We're
show
recording. You know that, right?
that it. No one's come knocking at the door to say house keys, please. But, I have worked with clinics for almost a quarter of a decade.
Yeah.
A long time. So I get to see what's happening behind the curtain in clinics. I'm in the weeds with clinic owners every single day with their teams every day. We're not like out in the internet or out in like a digital chat. This is me working directly with them. So I get this amazing privilege to see the numbers. And I don't mean like deep in the finances, but that too. So might be a 70-30 split, but I have yet to have a clinic who said the majority of our income or revenue this year came from new clients. I am so adamant on that 80-20 that for most clinics, it's actually higher. So think about it, that you would get $100. Your business made $100 in total, or $1,000 in total. What I'm saying, friends, is that $800 of that $1,000 will be from patients you already know, who've already come to see you, who, as you said, you may already have their email. And $700 or $800 will come from that. And $200 and $300 will come from people who may have found you through an ad, found you through social, found like random Google search, and they found your website. So we are so busy chasing, let's call it new business. We're literally neglecting the ones we have.
Yep.
And I don't mean like nurturing them or even like sending them. I don't mean like being kind to them. And yes, we appreciate you, all that kind of energy. I mean, selling energy, which we realize, a lot of practitioners are uncomfortable with the word sales, selling, revenue, profit, but here we are. And so when you all see spreadsheets and your numbers, you see numbers and I see behaviors. And that revenue, that $1,000 that you made, is an outcome of behaviors you took to get that revenue. And that is as complicated as it is, right? So it's the same thing with ads and marketing. And what you're helping people with, Andrew, is that ad had elements that made a person take an action, and that action is a behavior. Maybe it's clicking on a link. Maybe it's filling in my name, my age, my email, maybe my physical symptom, or what I want to achieve in improving my health or my image, whatever it is. So those are all behaviors. And what we've done for all these years is trapped those behaviors. So I can tell you with confidence, I better tell my family that I put my house on the line again to say, focus on your existing patients. And the good news, although it is painful, Andrew, when someone says, yeah, we have 400 emails, we have 3,000 emails. What have you done with them? Nothing. I would like to give everybody grace and say, you mean nothing yet? And the good news is, when you have those emails, that's the real gift. You're not supposed to know what to do with them. That's why you have a business and why I have a business, right? So the good news is we have a lot of sort of what we call principles here at RCI. And one of them is use what you have. So if you have those emails, use those emails. Okay.
Yeah, we call it a recycle and remix, what you got,
Not to know what to do with them. That will come. And, I don't think it's an accident that people are listening to this podcast. Here are some things to do. So we're tracking those behaviors regarding What can you do? What behaviors do we take in clinic to increase that revenue? So if we're focusing on getting new ones versus existing, it's a lot of wasted energy. So how do we recalibrate the energy? Well, if 80% of my income is going to come from my existing patients, 80% of my energy should go there. And 20% should go of my energy as clinic owner and so on should go to trying to get new ones. And what's beautiful about that 20% is that I'm not saying you as a clinic owner need to figure out and become Andrew, a marketing expert. You use that 20% to say, well, I think we can do some things like maybe a referral program, which is
Yep.
using our existing ones to get new ones. But how about we give Andrew a call and say,
Mhm.
what could we do externally to the clinic? 80% is internal behaviors of you and your team, small behaviors that can all be learned, that even if they're done semi-consistently,
Yep.
they're going to get you more revenue. That's what
You
we
know,
specialize in.
it's interesting that you mentioned this because in my approach to marketing is that it's a phased approach. You can, first of all, I mean, if you're a small business owner who's got tons of capital, you can do it all at once, right? And you got resources and people to help you. And remember, just because you have capital doesn't necessarily mean you have the resource to do it, right? And so, one thing that I notice is that sort of overestimate like what it needs to do marketing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
in a lot of cases, they'll underestimate what happens if that marketing was successful. And actually, I want to ask you, I have a case study for you here, LD.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of the right way to frame this. So there's a relatively new practice. Let's call it this a new practice. And they started from zero, no patients, got a physical location, right? Like kind of, did a lot of things that are a little risky, right?
Mhm.
When you're first kind of starting out, but they're, pretty true-blooded entrepreneurs. They've owned multiple businesses in the past, right? So it wasn't like their first business rodeo, if you would, right? So they went and launched this practice, and initially they're kind of focused on aesthetics, right? Fillers, Botox, things like that. And in the area location they were in, it's pretty like it's a lot of competition for that, right? So the next step, what they did was they were like, well, this whole hormone replacement therapy, weight loss, all of this is a big trend right now. Let's offer those as services, right? And so when I came in, they had just started to offer these more like NP focused like wellness services, right? Whether it's hormone therapy, weight loss. In this particular state, we can do stem cells, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the problem was that they wanted to offer these services to the public to generate more revenue because they saw more channels for revenue, like most people do. I got more SKUs, I can sell more stuff, which means more revenue, right? But
Yes.
the problem was that they didn't have like a full-time NP or provider on staff.
Okay.
And so let's say and so what happened was we would start running marketing campaigns, right? And everything on my end, the click-through rate, the engagement rate, all the what we call upper funnel stuff. It's like just nerdy marketing talk for clicking on ads and things like that, right? All that looked great, right? Everything that we like to see. But for
Yeah.
some reason, like we were not seeing any appointment bookings,
Yeah.
zero, like big
Yes.
fat goose egg, right? So
Yeah.
I'm like having a crisis of confidence right now. Do I really know what we're doing? I looked at it. We're running the playbook that we run. If we have multiple playbooks, more competitive markets, more rural markets, urban markets, like there's different playbooks that we run. So we started making adjustments, trying to figure it out. And we just could not get the bookings from our marketing, right? And so I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, what's going on here? So I went through our funnel. I went through our ads. I went through the nurture. I went through everything, right? And then I got to the appointment booking. And when I got to the appointment booking, it was like the most friction ever, right? To simply just find out when a provider is available for a service. I had to enter my phone number, get two-factor authentication. Then I had to put my first name, last name, email address before I could even see a schedule, right? And I'm like, this is not a good thing. And I got through all of that and I look at the schedule and sure enough, there's one day a week that the NP is available for the more wellness focused services that require the more
Yes.
NP focused services, if you would, at least here in the States. So I sat there and I'm like, wow, this is an issue. Like I can do the best marketing in the world, but if like all these qualified people, I think, are hitting a page where they have a gazillion roadblocks to actually booking an appointment, um, the best marketing in the world is not going to solve any of that. And that actually makes me look really bad. So I had this uncomfortable conversation with the client where it's like, hey, did you know that your schedule looks like this? Right. And if from a patient's or prospective patient's perspective, they just say 1 day a week and they don't fit in that schedule, what are they going to do? They're going to bounce. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, and that's the kind of case study I want to lay out. Ildi, do you see a lot of that happening where like they want to scale up marketing, they want to run ads, they want to do all this stuff, but they don't even have the frictionless way for someone to book? Or someone calls in, no one picks up the phone. Someone
Yeah.
sends a text message, nobody replies until a day later. Like these
Yeah.
are the process things, right,
That's
that you're talking
that's right.
about.
And you and I call them process and systems. And to settle everybody down, a system is simply usually a documented way to do something in a certain way over and over again. So repeatably, consistently, predictably. So answering the phone, it means you and I would answer the phone consistently. And what's lovely about it is as the clinic owner, you have a vision for how you want your patients greeted, how you want them spoken to, etc. And you get to document that in a system. So systems and processes. But systems and processes are things we write on a page. When they're acted out, that's the behavior. And that's the behavior that drives revenue. And I hope that I am giving your listeners confidence that the other clinic is not like they weren't raised with more money and better parents and got a better education and they didn't take some secret course that you don't know about. They are finding ways to behave that more consistently have that person book an appointment.
Mhm.
Some of the case study that you presented, though, it's a real challenging one because, and I love it. It's high level because it represents reality.
Yeah,
So this is my complaint about marketers. Sorry, Andrew.
go
Is
for it. Oh, I've heard them all. I've heard them all, and I agree with many of them. So,
so here comes some other one. Get ready for this voodoo pin happening right now. It is not only clinic owners and my clients who expect big results from marketing. For you, people who know what they're doing, you're used to getting good success. So that's why I think your and my collaborations are great.
Mhm.
Because think of it like a three-legged stool. We have the clinic, we have the marketing, and then we have us. And how clinic is obvious. You and I, though, to remove either one of us and what we do from a clinic is to take away one leg from that stool and it falls over. So you can have the best marketing. But when the marketing works, you're doing your job awesome. And it lands at what I call the clinic's doorstep, a text, a phone call, maybe even a walk-in,
Mhm.
uh, filling in an inquiry form online.
Appointment booking, right? A lot
Yeah,
of times they're looking for a first consultation booking, right?
anything, like literally anything, like random inquiry. So anything that you've done that leads a person to the clinic, literal or virtual doorstep, then you've done your job. And then we take it from there. So marketers in the past have been like, hey, watch our 12 videos and your staff will learn what to do. Yet they don't do it.
Yeah,
And
right.
so we have to make sure that we do have some documented ways and we prepare for your success, Andrew, in our clinic, which means let's anticipate that, and you know the numbers better than I do, that out of 100 people who might see this, that 4 or 5 may click on something. And my clients will email me and say, we only got 6 new clients. Well, excuse me, only? Do you know that your peers, my other clients and people who don't work with us would give a body part for 6 new clients or 6 existing patients and clients to book an appointment? Because I'm checking my watch and last Thursday you had 0 clients.
Mhm.
And you mean you already have 6 clients. But we are mesmerized by the Instagram reel where somebody opened a clinic or a business and you see their printer printing off like 100 or 1,000 labels because people ordered their bookmarks or their jam or their,
Yep.
whatever. And I'm like, I'm so happy for those people. But you and I know that that's less than 1%.
Yep.
So in other words, of the 99% of us that don't have a flood of a response from our marketing or even with our existing emails to existing patients, that would be called normal. So what we're trying to do here is increase the surface area
Yep.
that people do book that appointment. And there are real key things. And I really want your listeners to focus on what we tell our clients, which is really the only thing that matters is what we call conversion. And I'd love to explain that really simply if I could.
Sure.
So, you know how we say know your numbers, and then everybody's like math brain shuts down because maybe I didn't do well in math and maybe I need special help and all that. I don't actually think you should know your numbers. I just think you need to know some numbers. And conversion is non-negotiable. How many people called our clinic and converted from a caller to booking a consult? And I'm going to say it. If I had a mic to lean into, I would. It's like, listen to that again. Caller to consult, not caller to treatment. Caller to treatment is, I've got this lunch tomorrow and I'm hoping to lose 5 pounds. Okay, not going to happen.
I know there's so many things that could happen between the consult and the treatment that may not have anything to do with the front office or
all
operations.
We're trying to do is consult. It could be a virtual consult, could be a
Yeah.
phone consult, could be an in-person consult. How many people called versus how many people called and made an appointment? And that is worth tracking. And we have a tracker I think we're going to share in the show notes. But you have a piece of paper or a notepad at your front desk and you ask Leslie, who sits at the front desk, Leslie, let's draw a line down the middle of the page. And from today till the end of the week, when you remember, P.S., please try and remember every time, put a tick on the yes side. Okay? If they called and booked with someone to get a consult, and put a tick mark on the other side of no, they did not. And the mistake you all make is you throw out the no's. Well, the no's was really a not yet, something else. And I'm not sure we can save them. I'm not sure we have Andrew and his team and, where literally, I don't know why somebody wouldn't do this other than they're not ready, but work with you to say, what do we do with the no's, Andrew and Ildi? What do we do with the no's? They're not no gone forever, because if 100 people are no's or 10 people and you're able to get 2 of them because I take longer to buy, whatever, fine. But it's those yeses that count. So conversion is I called and I booked some kind of appointment, probably a consult. That's the goal. But the other kind of conversion is consult to treatment. And both of those numbers are worth tracking. The first is a little bit harder because it is difficult for the person or people at the front desk to keep up with the role. That's why I'm like, just do a Ticky sheet. Like put 1, 2, 3, 4, and then
I think the best practice is they literally have a spreadsheet, and there's a drop down that says, oh, why are you calling, or where'd you come from? Or
as a person who's 50 plus, I'm going to argue for pencil and paper hard over here.
Sure.
So I've been to the clinics and I see at the front desk where, Taylor and Leslie who sit at the front, if spreadsheet is your thing, fine. What I live is staff saying, oh, we can't have the spreadsheet and our software open at the same time. There's all these reasons they can't do it. I just want people to know anything you track, your genius brain will be able to step back and go, wow, isn't that an interesting pattern? And it could be anything, Andrew. Like we notice in the morning, more people call and say, yes, I'll come in for a consult. And then let's ask why. Let's not arrogantly assume we know why. Maybe you answered the phone in the morning. Maybe morning callers are more motivated. I have no idea. All I know is when we ask good questions to help you understand your own numbers, which could be ticks on a sheet, fine. But the real gold is we do have the conversion calculator that we'll share through your audience. And I do want to say it's not a tool that we share liberally. So if people are listening, use it. And it comes with an instructional video. It's 1 page on your screen, and it's going to ask you either now going forward or look back at your track record. You can look back 3 weeks. You can look back 3 months, 3 days. It doesn't have to be homework, right? I'll explain it to you in the video. And what it does, it says if I saw 10 people in the last month for a consult, how many said yes to treatment and how many said no? So if I saw 10 and 3 said yes, I'll go to treatment, can't wait. And 7 said no, my biggest piece of advice is do what we do. Do not judge it. Now, our brain says, if you got a mark that said you got 3 out of 7 or 3 out of 10, I think we call that a fail. in school, except, Andrew, that we're not in school. We're grown people, adults who are running businesses. And while we might not feel like it, and we have all these issues that we're supposed to be something that our field and profession tells us, I am here to correct you all and say up to 25 years, turns out we can do whatever we want. We can do whatever we want. And the hope that I'm going to give people is I have clients who see 10 people a week, and one is a huge clinic and one is a tiny clinic. Huge clinic sees 10 consults a month and 3 go to treatment. And the little one sees the littler clinic, sees 6 people a month and 5 went to treatment. Who's winning? The smaller clinic is winning. So if you're a smaller clinic, or you have heard yourself say in the past, like, we're not a big clinic, we don't have the resources and the training and the things to attract people in. No, Andrew did his job to attract people in. Your job is when you have them in that consult to get them to go to treatment. So that's hope for those of us who don't have 20-room clinics. Maybe we have a 2-room clinic. So the conversion rate is really focusing on the behaviors and the quality of that consult, which means you can win. So we're not there to judge if 3 out of 10 is good or bad. We're there to ask the clinic owner to say, Andrew, what do you think of 3 out of 10? And Andrew, in your situation, people always say, well, that's awful. We'd like it to be better. So that's our job. Our job is to show you what will happen financially, fulfilling that provider schedule, all the things, if you go from 3 out of 10 to even 5 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. We're not actually aiming for 10 out of 10. I do have clients and they have their conversion rate is like 9 out of 10 or 90%. And there's still people who say no or not now, but it is so worth focusing on behaviors that take them, that even increase the conversion by 10%, 5%, or 1 or 2. And the very first step to doing that, although I know it sounds a little woo-woo, is use that conversion calculator to understand where you are. What is the benchmark starting point?
You got to know your numbers before you can diagnose what you need to do, because if you need to know if you're 5 out of 6 or you're 3 out of 10. If you're 5 out of 6, you might be doing something different. If you're 3 out of 10, you're probably doing something different, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and it could be related to provider. Like, I can do
Fair
more
enough.
conversions than you.
Yep.
And then guess what we do? Let's job shadow. Let's have you sit in
Yeah.
with me. And, people don't start with, oh, our patients don't like it, la, la, la. And I'm not saying practice a consult on me. I'm not saying explain a consult. I'm saying go in and say, this is Andrew. He's going to be my scribe for today. Andrew, pick up a clipboard or notepad. Look like you're scribing. And listen to how I do that consult and notice 3 things. What did you notice? What could be even better? And what do you think lent? What behaviors did I see you do, or did you see me do, that led to that person saying yes?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not a behavior. Sometimes the patient came in like ready to buy, but there is always something that you can pick up. The thing that I don't want people to do is I don't want them to say, Andrew, it's not working. We need to dial it up, but P.S., we have no more money to spend on this. So if people are trusting a person like you in marketing who knows what they're doing, gives it some time to get going and get traction, then the thing that is going to move the needle, those behaviors are what we do in clinic. The conversion calculator is one. So the first phase is simply noticing the outcome. The second one is, well, I would love people to give me a call and say, great, what are some of those behaviors? And I will say that the way that most health professionals are taught how to do a consult is a technical-based consult.
You're right. Yeah, 100%.
That means you speak the jargon of acupuncture, chiropractor, med spa, wellness, menopause, all those things. But I have news for you. If I went to your clinic and worked there for a week, my conversion rate would be 80% or higher. It would be higher than the technical professional, because patients are not buying according to the technical explanation. They're buying according to how clearly and therefore impactfully you can explain how what you do solves their problem.
Yeah, I want to zoom out of just a little bit, actually, because we kind of talked around, like you meant, if we go back and look at the transcript, I'm sure the word behavior will be the most frequently used word in this episode.
Yeah.
What are, if you were to sort of laundry list kind of the 3 behaviors, and I think you've talked about in a little bit about each of them, but if you could maybe lay out sequentially, like what those behaviors are that enable a practice to really figure out how to like maximize revenue from their sort of existing customer or patient base. What's that methodology that RCI sort of teaches?
Yes. Our process that we use is know yourself, know your team, and then work towards the goal. So y'all want to rush to get to the goal. Fine. I'm going to make you just take 2 steps back and say, let's look at yourself as a business owner and how you're running the business. And we look for some key metrics. And then let's look at your team. So when I look at the business owner and the business, I see that they're pretty revenue hungry, but sales adverse. So what we do is say, well, it would make sense, wouldn't it, that we would sell more if we had more opportunities to sell. Now, if you all want to call it educating, fine. But in education and sales do meet up where in what we call the offer. So you've got to have more offers to give people. And what I love doing, because of course our formula is use what you have, use what you know, and then just commit to imperfect action, is how do we take what you already have and highlight it or spotlight it? Some people want to discount, some people never discount, but you do it that way, right? So we take that process. When I look at the team, that entire team are dedicated healthcare professionals who hate with a capital H sales and selling.
Yeah.
They literally say to me, Andrew, oh, we don't sell here. Like it's a bragging point. And I'm like, oh, we're in trouble.
Yeah. When people tell me that I never had to do marketing, I'm like, yeah, that's great until you do, right?
Yes.
And then it's no longer
Yeah.
a bragging
I'm
point.
like,
It's a point of
okay.
failure.
And
Yeah.
so what we're doing is helping people build positive, everyone sells cultures. I like to say without dying or like without the ick. And so that does come down to some structures, meaning are there enough opportunities for our patients to buy in this? So for example, you're sending 0 emails to your clients because it's gross, because you hate getting emails, because your lens, right? Know yourself. Your lens is I hate getting those emails. But here we have Andrew, a proven successful marketer. You got myself, I've been around a while now, saying, if you had to pick one side or other for revenue this year and every year forward, is it going to be social media or emails? All my money is on emails, period. Don't call either
No,
one.
I would say that too.
All
Email
on.
is the highest ROI channel. It
Absolutely.
still continues to be.
Yeah.
Anyone that tells me that email is dead, I'm like, how many times do you check your inbox every day? And they just look at me like, ashamed that they were wrong, but also ashamed about how many times they check it a day, you know?
Oh, I know. Good thing there's no tracker with a little screen, a little number on the top right of the screen. But I
Yeah,
really
exactly.
do understand. So, friends, let's sort that out. Let's sort out your sticking point or resistance to sending emails. And I'm here to tell you that there are such kind and authentic and generous and feel good ways to
Yeah, give
communicate.
me some examples of that email content. That's something, one thing that we do for our clients is we set up what are called evergreen email nurtures. So what happens is a lot of times, and again, these are prospective patients coming in, not necessarily existing patients, but a lot of times you have a prospective patient and they're considering hormone replacement therapy. They're considering PRF, hair treatment, right? And they're not quite ready to book an appointment. They don't want to pick up the phone yet to call. And so we always put what we call kind of a lead magnet or an offer that is a little less commitment, right? Where they download an ebook on a guide to women's hormone health and how it could potentially help with menopause or perimenopause, right? And they download that ebook and then they get like a series of kind of nurture emails. And the goal is like to soft sell in those emails. The first emails is usually the provider introducing themselves. This is why I'm passionate about what I do and why I love it. I encourage you to check out some more of our content. There's no sale in that first email. The second email might be about, hey, you downloaded our women's hormone health guide. If the provider is a woman, if you're like me, I have kids, I'm running a family. I feel fatigued. I have no idea where this came from when I just felt like $1,000,000 before. You might be experiencing these things, and here's some education about it, right? And by the way, if you want to really dig into the symptoms, book a free consult with me, right? And find out more. And like, that's a very like I feel like a non-icky way to
Yes.
sell. It's because
And some
the
people,
person who responds, you might be helping them, and you might be the solution to what they're looking for, you
exactly.
know?
And it still takes a lot of bravery and courage. So first of all, I love what you just outlined. And I think a lot of clinic owners hear that and go, yes. And what I would add to it is to say that's one way. Clinic friends listening, ask Andrew and ask me, what are other ways? There is not like a one way. Andrew and I have statistics for what works for most people. I've been here 24 years. So, yeah, I'm seeing on scale and
Yep.
big numbers of trends what's working, and particularly what's working now as we head into 2026. But the 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 shift in perspective is think less sales energy. And although I have no apologies for the word sales and selling, and think more how do you do messaging that says we're here to help? And what I like
Correct. It's
about what
help.
you said is all of it, when you bundle it in, it's, yeah, we're here to help. And so that is one, like we need to give, and as a clinic owner, you need to allow us to do our roles and propose to you ideas. And there's only one way to find out, which is to contact us, one of us, and say, yeah, let's chat about it. Let's chat about things and let the ideas land, try them on, understand that like a jacket or whatever clothing, it can be tailored slightly here, there to
Yep.
make it like perfectly fit for you. But
There's a
then the other,
framework that you
yeah,
tailor to yourself, because every practice, you might be a rural practice, you
yes,
might only be doing certain types of services, and like
yeah,
the framework in full may not apply to you, but pieces of it may, and
exactly.
you got
And
to
I know we
customize it to
spend,
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, we really do spend an awful lot of time knowing what to do is pretty easy, but knowing why we do it and how is something different. And so we fill in those blanks. But that framework, Andrew, is track. Okay. Track your conversion rates,
Yep.
reflect, look at them and ask some intelligent questions. And I think I propose some questions in the recording that comes along with that
Yep.
conversion calculate. Know what those numbers means. Know what 5 out of 10 or 3 out of 10 means, and then act is to say, now that we know and we've reflected, and we don't know just the first level, like 3 out of 10 is bad and 8 out of 10 is better. But now that we've reflected and asked those questions, which part do we want to act on? Which I caution people on acting on everything. This is where I see people clinic owners making huge mistakes around getting, okay, big, I'm going to roll up my sleeves. We're going to have like a full marketing campaign. They start using words like campaign. Only you use words like campaign because you actually know what it is and know how
Yeah.
to execute it successfully, precisely. The rest of us, we're like, what campaign? Is there an election? Like, what's happening? Okay. But these campaigns are a series of steps that connect with various actions. So
Yeah.
if you, Andrew, are getting us leads where people email or text, I'm like, I have to hold my hands up so nobody slams their phone down or ends this recording. But you've got 3 to 5 minutes to respond. We'll
Yeah.
respond in the hour.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I've had
That's
so many I'm like arguing with them, like, you cannot take an hour to get back to them. That's not acceptable. Not in today's day and age, especially if they texted you. You need to be back to them. Like, they should be seeing those bubbles moving the second they text you, like,
1,000%
yeah.
yes. And so I am here to tell you, and I am also here to meet your objection to go, we can't do that. We don't have the resources. We don't have the staff. That's unrealistic. You're
Yeah.
crazy. I receive all of it.
You've heard
My
it all, right?
I like bring it. And to all those, I say yes, 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 yes. So
Yeah.
I want to know if it's worth your while. So what would need to be true in order for any human being at your clinic to answer that within either right away or 3 minutes? And what I'm here to share is every single one of my clients, we have figured that answer out together. Sometimes it's not a quick thing to figure out, meaning there need to be 2 steps, something like this.
Oh,
'Cause
totally. It's not. I think we say it's a big thing. It's an easy thing to describe the issue, a hard thing to
yeah,
solve it. Yeah.
but what I'm
Hmm.
saying is literally everyone solved it. And some people didn't solve
Nice.
it right away, but sometimes we said, okay, who's the crazy person in your clinic, like our driven energy, that like they can't stand to see a text sitting on their phone. They have to respond. Okay, that's
Yeah.
Tracy. Awesome. How can Tracy incorporate? Well, maybe Tracy's that provider who works 1 day a week. Okay. Well, what day
Okay.
does she work? Wednesdays. Great. We have Wednesdays solved. What about the other days? And when you all tell me I don't have time, then nobody come back and complain that Andrew and his team didn't, or any marketer didn't do their job, because they are getting you leads. But now there's a handoff, like a relay race. And
That's
now
right.
it's us.
We
And
all,
that,
hey, this has always existed from the beginning of time in any marketing, which is the marketing to sales handoff or marketing to customer success
right,
handoff. And you're describing that right here. I got a
right.
I got a really tactical question for you. What's your opinion on voicemail? Is if a
Yeah.
prospective patient or even a patient calls in, and obviously after hours, I would expect that maybe they get voicemail, and that's okay. But like, is voicemail acceptable in this day and age with the virtual assistants, AI receptionists, those kind of things? Like,
Yes.
what do you see in your experience when people hit voicemail?
So no question, voice to voice, human is best and always will be.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What started shifting is we, the humans, got so poor at receiving that call from the other human that
Yep.
here's what I started to hear shift around 2015, 16, which
Yep.
is I would prefer to go to voicemail and not talk to someone. And we've all had that.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So how does that inform us for what we need to have in place in our clinic? It means we need to explore voicemail, or what we call the automation or the receiving voice. And so the flat out answer is, if you have the right good voicemail that's been reality tested by an expert, not your friend, not someone in the clinic,
Yeah.
not possibly Andrew, possibly not even you, but somebody who has
A
listened
random person.
4,000 voicemails and who might be able to recommend even a voicemail service to say, what are the options out there? Let's fan out the cards. If you have that right voicemail, you will guaranteed hear patients saying, I love your new voicemail. And it meant, of course, we don't say, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we started it at the beginning of the month. You can say that, but then let's dive deeper and ask a question to say, what did you love about it? And this is the top answers that I've heard in the last 10 years. It helped me get through to you faster. I could leave
Oh,
the ball in your court, meaning I said, Andrew, I couldn't find those script notes. Can you send it to us or whatever else? Or it gave me other options, right? So if
hmm.
you have a good voicemail, people don't mind waiting. Now, I'm so glad you asked this question, because the other day, I called a camera store, and I can
Okay.
give, if people email me or DM me, you know me, Andrew, I'm in my DMs. It's not like handled by a robot. It's me.
Mhm.
And which, if it's handled by a robot, that's okay too, if that's what you're all doing out there. I called this camera store to see if something that I ordered had arrived yet.
Okay.
And the voicemail was amazing. And if you message me, I will give you the number, but I know them well. So I'll have to warn them to say, by the way, I'll get 30 people to call you.
Don't put their phone number out there
And the
on the
trick,
internet yet.
we're good, and it's a small camera business. You're going to have to work to get on hold. So the trick is to call
Yeah.
and say, hi, Jenny, I'm wondering if that lens is in for my camera yet.
Yeah.
And she'll say, Ildi, just hold. Are you able to hold?
Mhm.
And I can go and check. Yes, no problem. Go ahead. And this is what the voicemail said. It didn't say, which there's nothing wrong with. I'm going to say, like, give you good and then give you great. So good is saying, we appreciate your patience and you don't have to say serving other clients, as we do whatever. You can give information. It can be timely, meaning every quarter you change that voicemail. Like,
Mm.
yes, don't make the mistake that you recorded it once in 2022 and it still says the
Yeah.
same thing. Picture
Yeah.
it like a digital billboard that
Totally.
30 seconds, my gosh, 30 seconds is practically a radio ad to say, if
You
you
got to
have,
say hey, welcome to X Practice, where you come to rejuvenate yourself, and
here's
we're
some,
happy to have you. Oh, that's a great
point to
idea.
do
Yeah.
fun facts. Fun
Yeah.
facts, 30%, like half. Did you know that 7 out of 10 of our staff have been here for 15 years or more? Or did you know that we're now offering laser services Did you know that we've introduced pain management, that we've introduced 2 new providers who are here on Tuesdays and Fridays? And so it could be fun facts, it could
Love it.
be et cetera, it could be answering an FAQ.
It is
And
totally a billboard. It is another
absolutely.
point along the marketing funnel
Yeah.
for
And then
sure.
people are
Yeah.
like, should I have music in the background? Should I not? I'm like, I don't
Right.
know. Google it. There's no magic, like nothing. If it's you, yes. If it's no, if the voicemail providers offers it. So that's good, but great.
Yep.
And this was Jenny's. She said, thank you so much for your patience while we go to look for your item, and we'll be with you shortly. And then she said, Peter and I have been working on a couple of exciting projects this season. So why don't we say at Sunny Health Clinic, we've introduced we're working on a couple of new initiatives to bring you even more options for insert the thing you do. Looking and
Yep.
feeling better, managing your pain, stopping the hot flashes, straightening your spine,
Totally.
fertility, whatever, and then name them. But notice that I didn't say, Andrew, that we're so excited to announce that we have the Laser GT4X with the Exxon light. I mean, I don't speak this language.
Yeah. Yeah.
Notice the difference of what we're working on and what's exciting. Or we're so excited to tell you that we've opened up Saturday hours to give you more
Yep.
convenient times. Those
Yep.
Saturday appointments go quick between now and the holiday season. Ask your provider or when we connect with you after this message for us to offer, or while you wait, here's our site, whatever it is. Like really think it through. So when we talk about increasing the surface area, that's one example. We call those actions and behaviors.
Mhm.
Other people call those systems. Some people call them initiatives and campaigns. I'm just here to tell you that over time, these are the things that I see have really worked. And I was going to say, Andrew, in case I want to make sure that NP who works 1 day a week, sometimes the reality is in our geography, that's who we can get on a Wednesday. And the one tip I'd love to share with the audience is if we just simply cannot get that awesome expert to be there more than 1 day a week now, as you are working to build that schedule out, my
Yep.
experience has been 2 things. Open a lot of Wednesdays. 1 or 2 months is not enough. 3 to 4 months of Wednesdays usually is better to increase the surface area as one. And the second part is an observation. A lot of people, nurses especially, lots of people are not working 5 days a week for a
Yep.
whole bunch of reasons. And it's okay. Like you've not failed if your part-time staff won't allow more hours. But in my experience, when you start to fill that provider schedule and they do well and they get a chance to love what they do, they really lean in when demand increases and those Wednesdays get full to say, Andrew, can we revisit your schedule to see if seasonally we could add in a half day or 3/4 day, like a 12 to 6 on Thursdays, every other Thursday from now till Christmas? Does it work for your schedule in life? And
Yep.
if they say no, it does not, guess what the answer is? No, it does not. I'm here to tell you statistically, working with my clinic client owners every day, more than 80% of the time, people who absolutely contractually said, I can only work Wednesdays 9 to 5, 80% of them or more are willing and able to make an accommodation because you guys are great employers and you're doing your best. And people who want to work, they love being given more work to do. That is their passion and their specialty. So I'm
Yeah.
saying don't dismay. It does work out, but you've got to ask, which of course is a leadership skill and coaching skill. But I encourage people to ask.
Yeah. So we covered a lot of really interesting and I think tactical information in this episode so far. And one thing I actually wanted to kind of put a button on a little bit is, you can systematize a lot of the kind of the 3 parts that you talked about, right? The track, the reflect, and the act, right? I'm most interested in the track, actually. And the reason I say that, and again, your tick marks, paper, pencil, whatever, um, this is an area where I'm sure you feel this too. It's like you can't get to, if let's say a prospective a provider contacts you, LD, I need your help. I'm trying to figure out how to grow this thing, blah, 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 blah. and you come in and they don't have the numbers for you. So you can't do much without having those numbers initially, right? So does your project start by finding ways to systematize the way they collect those numbers so you have the data, the 3 out of 10 or the 5 out of 6, which will inform you, okay, your sort of reflect move is going to be this now because we have the data, right? But if you
Yes.
don't have the data, how do you even get started with a client to be able to recommend what the next course of action is?
Yeah. It's a great question. I'm glad you're asking it. And it speaks to that conversion calculator.
Okay.
So on there, you have the option to track 3 to 5 weeks of behaviors called how many people did I see for a consult and what was the outcome? Yes to treatment, no to treatment. That's it. So in order to do that, you've got to count your consults. My short answer, Andrew, is there's literally never a situation where we don't have numbers because we've set this conversion calculator up so that you've pretend that you printed it out, but it is on screen.
Yep.
You have maybe it's on your phone, and on your other screen is your actual CRM, your software that you use to book people. And
Yeah.
what we do
Scheduling, whatever.
yeah. So here's what success looks like, friends, that there are fingerprints on your screen. So if I say, Andrew, when do you want to track the numbers from? You say, let's go back to September 1st. Okay, great. So we say the week of September 1st, we literally count. If we don't know how to get it through a report or summary through your software, good news, you're like 90% of normal clinic owners. So we literally count how many new patient consults did you do that week? We come up to one point where they go, do existing patient consults count? I'm like, great question. Do you want to count those too? You can blend them, but most people go, well, we could use this calculator over and over. Let's do one for new patients only. Awesome. First week of September, let's count. And you literally count. We did 3 consults this week. You go back on your calendar. The next week you did 5 consults. The next week you did 0 consults. And the next week you did 4 consults. And you didn't have to know how to read it in your software, run a report. You just have to be able to count on a screen visually.
Yep.
That's where
Keep it
great
simple.
ideas come from, where people are like, gosh, I wish our new patients were color coded. Ding. Put a ticket into your CRM to go, could you color code it? I wish there was something that jumped out at our screen for new patients because you want to do behaviors that are being extra welcoming and extra recognizing. You want to maybe show up in a different energy per se. So once you have all those, we count them. And what you put into the calculator is week 1, 3 consults. We open those charts to say, did these 3 consults go to yes or no?
Yep.
You put those ticks in. So what's nice is you could literally go back to a provider and look at their January to April this year consults and whether they converted or not. You can reuse it. And that's the track. It's literally a counting exercise. We've tried it over the years, different ways, Andrew, to say, get this report from your software, get that. Guess what? Y'all know how to count. And it is honestly magic that comes in that reflect phase. When you see your numbers and you're like, holy mackerel, out of the 5 of us, Andrew and Marcus are the biggest revenue generators. But what on earth is happening with like Tim and Leslie and Sally? And that's where we go. And that's where we reflect to go, gosh, are we ever going to turn Sally into Marcus? No. The answer, by the way, is no, you are not. And when we say act, it's not just let's work on what is a good consult structure. What is a consult that converts looks like? Of course, we have a workshop for that. But the other part we might reflect is to go, isn't that interesting? We have given all 5 providers the same product knowledge, the same exposure to training, the same understanding of how we get our leads. What's making these different?
Mm-hmm.
Friends, don't use this to reflect and then act to say, we have to get everybody to 9 out of 10. Because if Sally goes from 2 out of 10 to 5 out of 10, you have the conversion Olympics.
That's 115 or whatever 20% increase rate.
And you should be messaging and DMing me going, Ildi, where is my actual prize? So let's say Sally goes from 2 to 5. Andrew, who's a rock star, goes from 7 to 8. That too is winning the Olympics. Okay. Marcus,
It's
rock
all
star.
about incremental. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's those tiny, tiny shifts. And where I love that it connects with you is like you're doing the marketing to send us the people to do the consult. It matters what we're getting out of that time in that consultation or in that phone call or in that voicemail to capture more people so that they go, oh wow, I like this. I like how you sound. I like your energy. I liked the voicemail. I liked how this person talked to me on the phone. Can't remember her name. And that's where people's marketing budget actually stabilizes from
Yeah.
having bigger
Totally.
spends to going, wow, finally, Andrew and his team are here. We can relax. We have a good thing going. And you
Yeah.
control
And it
those.
gives me as a vendor time to build the pipeline in a more natural kind of organic way. I actually the projects I hate the most is where we're like we got to run this special, we got to drive because inevitably you're going to have to result to very like, kind of gotcha, clickbaity,
Yep.
promotional driven marketing campaigns, which there's always a time and a place for that, sure, like Black Friday maybe at the most, right? But most of the time, like you don't want to cheapen your brand, right? You don't want to, and that's where it does feel icky and salesy and that kind of thing when we feel like we think we need sales or marketing for like a silver bullet. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic, I think, and I think just to kind of put a bow on this episode and tie up this episode, actually, I know you mentioned, sort of the analyze and then reflect and then act, right? And again, I double click on the analyze part first because like you can't do you're gonna shoot, ready, aim, you know what I mean? You're gonna shoot first if you do the other things first without the data. And so my biggest takeaway for our listeners here in this episode is like Ildi just actually laid out a very, very, even if you don't, and we'll talk about the conversion calculator in a second, but even if you don't use her calculator, she just laid out two parts of the sort of like prospective patient journey or existing patient journey that you can very easily just use a notebook to record and get this data. You can get that. And again, I keep going back to, are you that 3 out of 5 or are you the 5 out of 10 person? And that will inform you about what you need to do next. The second like big nugget that I just wanted to leave was that voicemail idea, Ildi. That's brilliant. There are a lot of calls that hit voicemail. I personally was of the opinion that you go to voicemail, you lose a potential customer. But based on your experience and the data that you kind of shared with us, like, hey, people like to engage with that, but we need to find opportunities to make that a better experience, not only for them, but for also our own marketing and kind of like sales purposes. So that's like
Yeah.
a super tactical thing that everybody can literally go out and do is change your voicemail, number one, and make it more interesting, engaging. But number two is change it every quarter, right? If the seasons change, mention something about, oh, fall's here. We look forward to seeing you for your, fall tune-ups or whatever the thing is, right? But those are some really valuable, easy things to do that I think if you decide to hire someone like Ildi, it will allow her to start a little further ahead if you can give her some data to work with, right?
Yeah.
Like she can't do much without that data, right?
Yeah. I mean, we'll help you collect the data. And
Sure.
our goal is to help you get from A to B actually faster. And we do because we know what to do. So we're doing some trial and error with you. But the point is, you're not doing trial and error on your own, isolated, DIYing this. And that is the absolute best way to spend and waste actually the most time, energy, and money. I wanted to add, when you said like without that sales energy and the discounting and Black Friday, what's the place? People may want to go back to our last podcast
Yeah.
where we talked about that. And I have to say that workshop, as well as this conversion calculator and process, that has made our clients the most money. And
Sweet.
if people are
Yep.
like, hey, I don't know if I want to do something for Black Friday or not. My message every year is the same post every year, same message. Whether you do or don't, it doesn't matter. The success of your clinic is not hinging on whether you do something for Black Friday or not, even if you see other people doing it. P.S. You can do Black Friday in July because it's your business and you get to do what you want.
Yep.
The other point is, I want people to know, Andrew, that people like you and I work together. We work in tandem. Like, we're not here because Andrew's like a random person on the internet, and I am too. We met each other. We put this together because your marketing and clinic operations work hand in hand like
Yep.
that three-legged stool. So here's the two parts, and now we need your clinic, your part to
Yep.
help. So you don't need to like turn into like a numbers analysis, data campaign business. Give us a chance and you ask us, what do these numbers mean?
Yep. That's
What
it.
are they telling us? And then let us have a look at them and tell you, hey, here's what we see. Here's some options. Now, what do we want to do? Because only action is rewarded.
100%. Yeah, and look, Ildi has provided tons of resources to this community. So first off, she's talked about the conversion calculator. I'll leave the URL in the show notes and all of that. So that's the first thing is the conversion calculator. Go check that out. Implement that in your practice today, right? It's not hard to do. Work with your front office to get that implemented. And secondly, Ildi offers a complimentary clarity call,
Yes.
right? And I think this clarity call, you may have an issue that may not tie directly into what we might have talked about today, but you may have a practice issue. And as you can kind of gather in what Ildi has talked about today, but also in our previous episode, she's got a lot of experience looking at a lot of different things from marketing to operations to patient engagement to systems and things like that. So if you're unsure as to whether or not, like, it's like you don't know what you don't know, but there's a gap there. You know there's a gap there. Book that clarity call with Ildi. Gets complimentary. It's almost like getting your first hormone consult or whatever for free, basically. So there's no risk for you to try it. We'll include that in the show notes. I encourage all of you to speak to her. And again, like Ildi has mentioned multiple times throughout this episode, like I can do my job better, right, when some of this groundwork has been laid as well. So Ildi, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And again, thank you for sharing all your free resources. These are very valuable things, and I hope our community is able to take advantage of them.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. Always great to do this with you.
Great. Thanks, Ildi. Take care and have a great rest of your day.